Hi, welcome to my presentation today on how modeling instruction provides effective professional development for STEM teachers. My name is Bill Thornburgh. I'm the Executive Officer of the American Modeling Teachers Association. I'm going to start with a brief overview of AMTA, who we are and what we do. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. We established the organization in 2005 after a 16-year NSF grant funding project with Arizona State University. That is where modeling instruction began and where it's a research-based and proven effective teaching method. Students' FCI scores were 1 to 2 standard deviations higher for students that came from a modeling classroom than those from traditional classrooms. So over the years, we have gone from physics to then developing chemistry and middle school biology, physical science, astronomy, and then computational modeling physics first programs. So we have an extensive range of disciplines that we have instructional materials for, as well as summer workshops and then some other programs, which I'll talk about in just a moment. We train teachers in the pedagogy called modeling instruction. That does not just involve the use of models, which many science teachers use. They use models to manipulate, to show students things in each of the main disciplines in high school, which are physics, chemistry, and biology. But this pedagogy, it's very student-centered, it's very hands-on, it's based on constructivism. And it's not just constructivism in the sense that students just do whatever they want to do when given some materials. The teacher is there to facilitate and to guide them through. So it is constructivism and inquiry based, but not necessarily totally open inquiry, which is a common misconception. The pedagogy is based on the modeling cycle, which was developed by Dr. David Hestenes from Arizona State University. And the modeling cycle goes hand in hand with the learning cycle from Robert Karplus. It's all about model development, then deploying the model, and then identifying limitations to the model, and getting to a point where the model that you currently work with doesn't work. And then students will develop a new model, and the process goes over and over again. We are nationwide. In fact, we're international, where we have members in 48 states and 49 countries across the world. And since modeling instruction began right around 1990, over 15,000 science teachers have been through our programs. And at one point, it was estimated that about 10% of physics teachers nationwide had attended a modeling instruction workshop. Here are a few of the programs that we offer. We offer for members summer face-to-face workshops in a typical year. We offer distance learning courses, which range from 5 weeks for advanced topics all the way to 15 weeks for introductory to modeling instruction. We have online learning modules, which are offered on the weekends, and they're 2 to 3 hours in length. We have a leadership pathway program where interested members and modelers after a few years of experience will be recommended. They'll express their interest and they'll attend a leadership training, a 1-week workshop, and then they'll go through an apprenticeship and a co-leader position until they get there. But we want to offer our members opportunities to continue to grow and to continue to learn more about the pedagogy and about working with students and learning how to question better and just continuing to improve classroom best practices. And then we do a variety of other things, from happy hours and webinars to our annual conference. But we try to offer as many things as possible to strengthen our community and to continue to build knowledge and help teachers improve in what they do. Instead of just listening to me talk about AMTA and how good I think our programs are, what I wanted to do for a few slides here is just include some teacher quotes. I just sent out a list of questions to a number of our members, and I asked them, if they would be willing to to respond back and answer those questions. So in regards to our professional development, this is what teachers have to say. And so I don't sit here and just read out loud to you. I just kind of highlighted a few things. Teachers are, our members are extremely dedicated and passionate professionals. You see the word there. It's a springboard for making a sea of change in the classroom. It provides teachers with a way of teaching, and it shows teachers of the different content areas a way to build a progressive story. So science education isn't fragmented, that things do connect and they follow storylines. So that's an area where we're extremely strong. Looking at the second quote there, modeling instruction, it's immersive. Teachers go to workshops and they are involved in the activities, both in student mode and in teacher mode. And then they go through the process of science, as we've heard over the last number of years through the next generation science standards, doing science and acting like scientists. This is exactly what you'll see in a summer face-to-face modeling instruction workshop. But this idea of improving content knowledge as well as pedagogy. So in research arenas, you would hear this talked about as science content knowledge, SCK, and pedagogical content knowledge, PCK. Our workshops do a very good job at helping teachers to improve in both of these areas. And then one of the things I love about many of the quotes we got, but it helps bring back the joy of teaching. So teachers really come in for a variety of reasons, but they leave happy. They leave with excitement. They're ready to tackle their next semester of teaching. And then lastly there, you see from a presidential awardee that, this teacher referred to the program as just being awesome. The emphasis on mastery of content, discourse management, both student to student and teacher to student, as well as just being deliberate in what we do. But being a presidential awardee and then finding modeling instruction and thinking that it revolutionized the way that this teacher taught was great. And what you see there from Illinois, Arizona, Alabama, we got responses from teachers across the country. We do have many members in certain states, Illinois, Michigan, Arizona, the Boston area, to name a few. So you're going to see their teachers coming from different parts of the country. But asking them what they thought about our professional development and the impact on their career, it made it possible for me to keep teaching. They were demoralized and they probably would have quit had they not found modeling instruction. That's very powerful. And I think a lot of teachers are just trying to find ways to be reinvigorated, to connect with students better, to just find something different. Because if you continue to drone on in the same way that you learned science when you were a student, that's just not effective teaching anymore. And a lot of teachers come to us with that feeling, and then they leave a very different person. We've heard it many times that it's modeling instruction is career changing for people. It's made this teacher from Maine a more confident guide. Oftentimes you'll hear modelers connect to that saying about sage on the stage versus guide on the side. And when you become a modeler, you definitely take on the guide role. That's very important in the creation of a student-centered classroom. You can't be up there and be the know-it-all. You can't just talk at them with information going over their head. You have to be with them and amongst them, and you have to learn with them. That's a very important aspect of what we do. And then the last one there from Illinois, that modeling has helped to refocus teaching, and it's made them a more reflective practitioner, and it allows them to listen to their students. And you do that in a number of ways, right? Not just through question and answer, but through whiteboarding and seeing how they respond and seeing how they work with their partners. There's a lot of ways that we need to listen to students beyond just our one-on-one conversation. So this teacher felt very, very passionate about the fact that they had become reflective. And then at the end there, you see impact on teaching career. Modeling was central to both their national board certification portfolio, as well as renewing their license. So on our website, you can find a lot of information about modelers and the number of awards they've won, from being presidential awardees to the Shell Award to the National Air Force Association Teacher of the Year, and just a number of awards and recognitions go out to modelers across the country. And then importantly, right, it's not just about the teacher and the effect that our programs have on them, but it's what is the impact on their students. So I pulled out a few I thought were good representations of what it's doing for students. And you see it's increasing self-confidence, they're learning more. Not only learning, but the retention rate is higher. And this love of science, and they're having fun. And they're actually motivated to continue to learn and take more science classes, and maybe even pursue a STEM field as a career in the future. Problem solving and the ability to think, critical thinking, as we often say, these are really main aspects of what we work on with students and what they come out of our classes with. They're constantly thinking, testing, using data to support, evidence and argumentation, and then they're revising their thinking, and they're working with each other. So, there's a socio-constructive piece to this, and in a student-centered modeling classroom, this is occurring daily. Better sense-making, internalizing the material, which is why students that come from modeling classrooms are able to perform better on standardized tests and concept inventories, because they're building a very strong conceptual foundation that goes beyond what maybe most students get in just a traditionally taught classroom. Another reason why our professional development is effective and well received by teachers and administration is because it is very closely aligned to the next gen science standards. If you look at the image on the left, you'll see there the 3 dimensions and how modeling fits in. Without a doubt, the strongest connections between our programs and NGSS are the science and engineering practices. Those 8 practices that have students acting like scientists and engineers, they're constant. And the disciplinary core ideas, of course, that's just every day, right? That's just what we teach. So the content is there. And depending on the students that you teach and the level of the class that you're teaching, you can always amp up the material or bring it back a little bit, right? So it's appropriate for your group of students. And then the cross-cutting concepts, there are a few that are more explicit through our programs. 1 being energy, and 2 being the fact that it's a modeling storyline, systems and models. Those are 2 of the biggest ones, but without a doubt, there's scale, there's cause and effect, we see the patterns. But this is the area, the dimension of NGSS that's oftentimes the most confusing for teachers, like what do I do with it, or how do I test it? So this is where we just have to be more explicit, letting students know, helping them see connections from one unit to the next within our own course, but also helping them see the connections between other disciplines in the course that you're teaching. And then if you look at the image on the right, you see that modeling instruction is perfect with 21st century learning skills. Critical thinking is vital in a modeling classroom. Students use a lot of creativity in working together, expressing their ideas, collaboration through whiteboarding, through sharing, through grouping and regrouping and working together. Collaboration is, you're going to see that daily. And then communication. Because students are always using evidence collected from activities and discussions, they're able to then get their ideas and their thinking across to others. And even if they're not the student or the group that's presenting, other students in the classroom are able to question them And the student-to-student discourse is really important, and it's a really exciting part of a modeling classroom. And again, if the teacher is the guide, then students can really almost run a classroom with this teacher just strategically placing certain questions or doing certain things, and the students are able to run with it. So it's really exciting. If you've never seen one, I encourage you to seek out a modeler and observe their classroom. You know, the question often comes up, how have we been so successful? Modeling instruction workshops started around 1990, and it was all based off of an NSF grant at Arizona State University. But when that funding ended, teachers were so positively impacted by modeling and what it did for them and their students that they started an organization, AMTA. That's how we were founded. And we're research-based, proven effective. As I mentioned earlier, students were scoring 1 to 2 standard deviations higher on the force concept inventory than students coming from traditional classrooms. Since we have expanded and grown to chemistry and biology in middle school, there is research out there that shows that modeling is effective for English as a second language students. It's effective for students that have lower math ability, and it's effective for students that are low academic learners. Of course, it can fit all because there are many modelers who use our practices in their AP science classes, but it is good across the entire range, but specifically those ones I mentioned with English as a second language, lower math skills, and lower academic achieving, you're probably going to see better results than you normally have in a traditionally taught classroom. In our programs, especially our summer face-to-face, which are multi-week, 2 to 3 weeks in length, teachers are getting pedagogy and content knowledge, and that's key. We don't separate them. We don't do one or the other because we want, let's say, a chemistry teacher to be able to teach chemistry in a certain way to be most effective. And if you do one or the other, then you're going to lose out there. They're immersive and they're intensive. They're extremely collaborative. I mentioned earlier student mode. The teachers that attend modeling workshops, they participate in student mode. They ask the questions, they work in groups, and the workshop leader is the guide and helps them through. And after they've conducted labs and they've done group whiteboarding sessions and done their Socratic dialogue, they then can go into teacher mode to talk about maybe how they would change something, or what would they do here, or how this could have been done, or how do we assess. And you can go through both student and teacher, which really helps to solidify the concepts, right? Not only do we get an idea of, okay, this is how a student may feel, which helps us teach them better, but then as a teacher, we're more reflective about the use of our language or the activities that we choose and how much time we give students to work with them. Definitely a supportive community. We help connect them as much as possible through Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, listserv, emails. But members across the country collaborate and work together and ask each other questions all of the time. As I mentioned, it's a dedicated and passionate community. And then we offer opportunities for growth. And so if you read any research on effective professional development, you're going to see a lot of these same things. And that's why we've been able to be successful over the years. Now, 2020, it's been a rough year, but we had to go virtual. We just had to for a number of reasons. One being teachers still need professional development. It's just maybe they need it for a different reason now. Beginning in late March and then through April, as more and more teachers were going to non-traditional instruction and just trying to figure out what was going on, they were wanting to meet through happy hours and webinars to talk about what was going on and basically to just commiserate, right? But what we figured out over about a month or two after school started to close down was that teachers still want to learn and they want professional development. So we were willing to kind of throw our entire summer plan away and just start fresh. So we had some previous experience with virtual instruction, but not to this extent. So we pivoted, we made it happen, and I'm going to talk to you about the results here in just a moment. But we started this plan by actually working with a small group of workshop leaders who had led previous distance learning. They put together some guidelines, and then we met with all of our leaders who were scheduled to do face-to-face workshop. And we told them, we said, look, we're going to go virtual. We want to know who's interested, who's willing to do this, who wants to go through the training. And it was amazing, the response that we had and the discussions that they had. They were so thoughtful. And obviously, it's very helpful to kind of pivot and start something new when you have a group that's so willing to just jump on board and do it. But that's how strongly they feel about modeling instruction. So we established some guidelines. We met, we worked with leaders who had less time on Zoom, which was the platform that we used. And then AMTA helped to conduct training sessions to get people up to speed and allow them to practice and work with breakout groups and just learn the ins and outs of the Zoom platform. But a little thing, you can see on the right there is we offered Chemistry 1 and Chemistry 2, Biology, middle school, and mechanics. And then we had some other hosts around the country offer E&M and waves, and then more chemistry and biology courses. So the results, not with this being the first time and jumping headfirst into the waters, here are some things that we figured out. Teachers did show learning gains on concept inventories. So the FCI was given in mechanics workshops, the ABCC and Chemistry 1 workshops. And what we found was we weren't sure what was going to happen. So when we started to see the results and gains, we were extremely happy. So this tells us that good, solid, virtual professional development can be a good thing. It can be effective for teachers. We heard from teachers in each of the courses through observations, checking in to say, I'm so glad that you were able to do this because I wouldn't have been able to go to a workshop. It does take a lot of time. It is a financial commitment. People have families and other commitments. So with it being virtual and you being able to sit in your home or wherever you need to be and be on a computer and still learn, this was vital for some of our teachers. And we predicted that would be true, but we heard it even more than we thought we would. Teachers, in fact, actually asked us if we'd be offering future virtual courses. So we were initially expecting that 2020 would just be different. We would go virtual, and then when things returned to normal, we would go back to normal. But based on requests, we will continue to offer virtual courses. And by the way, these virtual courses that were offered by AMTA as the host were 3 weeks in length, and they met 4 or 5 days a week between 3 and 4 hours per day. Any more than that, workshop leaders felt like it was too much time behind the computer, and teachers were just going to be overwhelmed and drained. So coming up with a schedule that allowed us to get through a certain amount of material without killing them behind a screen was a really important balancing act. But we think that that's the way to go at this point. There was a lot of reports, not only from the teachers in the courses, but our own observations, as well as leaders' feedback that teachers were really enjoying being a part of the course. That was great for us to hear because with this being so new and different, we weren't sure if it would be well received, but it was. So we're very happy to hear about that. We've talked with our leaders. We have an upcoming meeting with all of the leaders to gather more feedback and share some results. But we were very happy to hear that there were some unexpected successes. A number of them had been involved in previous virtual learning opportunities, and many of them hadn't. So they didn't know what to expect. So when they reported back how much they enjoyed it and how effective they thought it was, that was a good sign for us. And finally, that not everything went as expected. And as always, as teachers, we know things could be better. Some of our leaders have already responded and let us know that they would change something for next time, that they would use different technologies, that maybe they would reschedule their day a little bit differently. So we expected this because the first time you do anything, it's never going to be perfect. So we're excited to meet with them in the upcoming weeks to revisit the recommended guidelines that we originally created, and then make some changes and update those so next year's group of leaders will be even better prepared. And so just some final thoughts about the organization and what 2020 did is we were a little bit ahead of the game because we had done some previous distance learning courses through GoToMeeting and Zoom. We began doing online learning modules, which were shorter weekend modules for our members, and we were using Zoom for that. So when this happened, although it was a complete pivot from our original face-to-face workshops, it wasn't crazy, and you know, we weren't scared to death of it. It was just uncertain about would teachers sign up and how many would sign up and how many courses should we offer. But we felt pretty good about being able to deliver a high quality PD program for teachers. Our leaders who had had experience through those previous courses, their input and their creation of some guidelines was amazing. So that was, you know, I said there, that was big time for us, because the work of that small group then went on to the larger group of potential leader candidates, and really kind of got the ball rolling. I feel like had we not had that initial group, that this could have been a harder sell for our leaders. There would have been a lot more uncertainty, and maybe not as many classes would have resulted had that not happened. So it's unbelievable. You know, I'm happy for the organization that things worked out, but it really worked out because of the people that we work with. I mean, the flexibility, the adaptability, the passion, the dedication, they're so collaborative in so many different ways. And that really helped to make these courses a success for the participants. So, you know, I have to thank them for all the hard work that they put into it, because it's a much different leading a virtual course than it is a face-to-face workshop. And you really can never replace some of the elements of a face-to-face. So that's where virtual is always going to fall a little short. But we know from the previous slide I showed you that we had a lot of positive results. So although it may be different than face-to-face, it can still be effective learning. And that's what we think happened this summer. This desire to learn by the teachers who signed up, I mean, they've had everything under the sun thrown at them since March. And I think that people have a whole new appreciation for teachers at all levels. It's not easy to do this. And the fact that we had so many teachers sign up, wanting to learn a new pedagogy, wanting to learn content, wanting new ideas for how to teach in some new way in the beginning of the 2020-2021 school year, whether it's fully remote or a hybrid version or whatever the school system is going to throw at them. Teachers needed ideas to be able to teach more effectively. And conversations that were had with us through webinars and in happy hours is concerns over, you know, how do you whiteboard effectively? How do you question students? How do you monitor the student-to-student discourse when they're sent to breakout rooms? You know, what technologies work best? And so it's been great listening to these teachers having such different ideas depending on where it is they're located across the country. So just the fact that we don't know when this is going to end and we don't know when things are going to get back to normal, teachers are still there wanting to get better at what they do, which in turn improves the science learning experience for their students. So AMTA is always willing to partner and come up with new ways to reach teachers, to increase the diversity of the organization, to play a role, have a hand in diversity and equity and inclusiveness. If you're interested and want to partner in any way, please contact me. Here is my email and my phone number. We'd be happy to have a chat. You can visit our website, modelinginstruction.org, for more information. But please reach out. I would love to talk to you. Thank you for your time today, and have a great day.